Hello.
How are you?
How are you?
Good to see you.
Okay. Hello. This is our friends. Everybody here.
So, I go bring the food.
Okay.
People will make up lies about the Venus Project. That I'm a fascist, a communist, a socialist, whatever they have to say. Gay, whatever they want to say.
Discredibility.
That you must expect that.
Yeah.
The first thing we do is build a collection of information about the earth,
Database.
about people, about arable land, how much water we have, how much illnesses we have, cystic fibrosis, cancer, heart disease, how many people there are to feed. If you don't gather that information first, there's nothing you can do. Then we have to do this. We have to go on the trips to other nations and speak to them about the Venus Project and ask them to join with us. That will mean the end of military. In the United States, we had 48 states, and they used to have militia at the borders, because they all wanted to take one another's state. Once they joined together, the militia disappeared. You know what that means? There's no need for armies and navies. So if we go to Japan or China or any country, we try to get them to join the national system, which is all of the Earth's resources must be declared the common heritage of all the nations that join. Some nations won't join, so they don't get the benefits of the collective nation.
Of course.
You understand that up to now? So you have to learn the technique of reaching other nations, because they have different social concepts, different philosophies, different concepts of God. Some in the Arab world, they marry 10 or 6 women, so they're all very different. So as a kid, I said to myself, how are we going to reach all these people? They're all so different. And I said, I don't know. So I said, why don't you test your stuff? Whenever you approach an organization, don't attack the customs.
Yes, of course.
Then you begin to point out, if they're religious and you want to break down, I take it that most of you are not religious.
No.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I approach religious people, the breakdown is different.
Yes.
You want me to describe it?
Of course, that is very...
Water for Greece.
Yes.
I say, do you believe in God? He says, yes. So I used to go to church years ago, and when the minister said, it rains to make the plants grow, I said, why does it rain at sea?
Yes.
And he said, hold your hands out, he beat the shit out of hard.
Yes.
And so I figured he did not understand the Bible he was reading. So I read the Bible many times, and it's subject to interpretation. When you read the Bible, she says, Jesus meant this. He said, no, he meant that. He said, you're both wrong. So that's why you have the Lutheran, the Seventh-day Adventist,
36,000...
all the different divisions. Because language is the main thing you have to learn, is subject to interpretation. So the language you speak, Greek, French, English, was designed hundreds of years ago. And the language itself doesn't make sense. So when you say something to somebody, even though they shake their head, it goes through their head and comes out different, and exactly as you want it to. Do you understand that? If language is subject to interpretation, we must develop a language that's not subject to interpretation. It already exists. Mathematics, chemistry, when the chemist writes a formula, he doesn't, I think he means this.
I know what you're saying.
They know exactly what you mean. When you're an engineer and you talk about material, you don't say, believe me, this is very strong. You give the tensile strength, compression strength, torsion strength.
You test it.
Another engineer knows exactly what you're talking about. if it was subject to interpretation, you couldn't build bridges. Because he says the beam is this thick, you know it's that thick. So you couldn't do anything if it's subject to interpretation. So the nearest thing, I said the nearest thing to a better language was the methods of science or technology. Anyway, this guy Lou wanted me to come to the Klan meeting. I said, Lou, they would not listen to me. He says, I'll get him to listen to you. I'm head of the Klan. I said, Lou, it'll take hours. He says, I'll get him to listen. You're a smart guy. He didn't know what I was talking about. Yeah. So I said, Lou, I appreciate that. You can't go in and turn people around right away. You have to work on that. Then I said, Lou, you look at people and you say, he's a good man, a thinking man, he's an evil man because he's bald, whatever it is. He looks at people and he tells us all about it. I said, Lou, will you teach us how to do that? He said, Jacque, I didn't think I can teach you anything. I said, Lou, if you can do that, I would learn a lot. So I said, do you mind if I bring photographs down, project them on the screen, and you tell me about the people? He says, no, he says, I'd be glad to do that. Don't forget your lights also.
Yes.
So I projected a picture of a man on the screen. He had gray hair, a white mustache. He was about 60 years old. He said he looks like a good American, a Christian, a war veteran. He's telling me all these things about the guy. He says a family man, God-fearing man. And I said, is there anything else you could add? He says, no, that's got him all right. Then I pulled out the bottom of the picture, which I got from the post office. Wanted by the FBI for subversive action against the United States. That's not me doing that, that's Lou. And there's about 30 some odd members of the Klan were there, and they laughing at Lou. He always talked about things and they never laughed because it was never subject to test. So I said to the guys that were laughing, you guys shut up.
He said,
Lou knows more about people than we do. So he loused up this time. But maybe we all loused up, don't we? Once in a while? So I ran the second thing. The second thing was a record. Of a voice, just a voice. You understand that?
Yes.
And the voice was talking about aeronautics in Oxford English. Meaning, I say, old chap, you a flyer? See, that's where the English from. So it was in English. And he said, I see a smart man that knows a lot about airplanes. And he said, he's a very smart man. I think he's a skinny, white Englishman with a bald head and eyeglasses. That's what he pictured. Now the record keeps going. And I say, anything else you can tell us? He says, no, that's essentially that he's a smart guy. Then the image comes on. It's a black guy raised in England. Goddamn nigger, talking like an Englishman. That's his.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yes.
How come that nigger was talking like an Englishman? That's because he was raised in England. If he was raised in France, he said la tour Eiffel.
Of course.
If he were raised in Germany, Deutschland over alles, as a baby. So if I take you as a baby and put you in the headhunters of the Amazon, you'd be a headhunter. That is, if you never saw movies or travel. You understand that? That means that no one is good or bad. They reflect their culture. Any problem with that? People make millions selling Jeeps and $1 billion for each new airplane today. And when the war comes, they give you super machine gun sensory devices. When peace is here, guy can't afford to go to college, he can't learn. And the smarter you make people, the richer the future of the country. Every kid that can't go to school, you're hurting. Every kid shooting up drugs. Don't forget, if you do away with money, you can't sell drugs. You can't pay off politicians. So somebody said to me, will people be free? I don't know what they're talking about. Because we used to have signs, come to America, it's a free country. So Arabs would come with 6 wives. You can only come in with one. But what do you mean by a free country? You can't use those words. You have to say in America or France, these are the laws. But those laws aren't good. They're made to protect the establishment. When they say don't steal, they used to ask me, what are you going to do with the criminals in the Venus Project? I say, you mean when you go to a supermarket and you buy a box of ODs, they're half full? You ever notice that? What do you mean by a criminal? You know what the new definition is of a criminal in university? One who's caught. There is no such thing as a criminal. All industries are criminal. Now, if you work for a department store, you're a good Christian, and a woman comes in and says, how much is the lamb? You say, $20. She says, I'll take 2. But you being a good person, if you go 3 stores down, you get the same lamb for half the price. You wouldn't be working for me. Do you understand? We are made to be sons of bitches in the money.
Yes.
All of us are prostitutes.
Competitive and fighting each other.
Do you understand me? Any problems there? That's why when a person says, I'm a nature lover, we love earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, and disease. It's all nature. Is it nature?
Yeah, of course.
You love rattlesnakes? No. What do you mean by nature love? Always ask a person. If you believe in God, ask them which one. I say, well, I'm a Christian one, of course. And then go on to show them. It says, for God so loveth the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that others might have eternal life and not perish. That's what it says in the Bible.
Yes.
But the witnesses in the Bible said Jesus was crucified, he arose from the dead, and ascended into heaven. Where's the sacrifice?
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
I always say that we've been working in obscurity for 35 years of this. We had no recognition whatsoever. And we were making books and videos, and we had no outside funding. We had outside jobs to pay for all this.
No one would publish our book.
Yeah, so we had to publish it, and it's in its fourth publication, and we must have spent over $50,000 publishing it. That's why we have to sell it, so we can have more money to do more publications and things. But so it just took us meeting one person, Peter Joseph, and he represented it very well. And now there are chapters in less than 2 years all over the world.